What players could possibly be traded before or on draft day or right after draft day? These are five of, not the only guys, but five of some of the most talked about, thought about, kicked around ideas as far as player trades go around the NFL. And it would not shock me if one or two of these guys got moved at some point in the next month. And on draft day specifically. We'll talk about why Mark Andrews is on this list. We'll talk about why Kirk Cousins is on this list and why he's most likely a trade after the NFL draft is complete. Walker getting kicked around. Tyreek Hill. His team recently came out and spoke about why he's probably not getting traded. But we'll kick around the idea of if he does and why we think it still could happen and why we believe there's a roadblock in that terms of that happening. Pickens is still somebody that could be moved. We're talking about all of that and more. And if you got any other names you want to toss them out. The Fantasy Football Show Graveyard Edition begins right now. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
So Tyreek Hill, let's break down the Tyreek Hill situation first and foremost because that's the biggest name on this list. I mean, Kenneth Walker is pretty big too, but Dolphins GM Chris Greer said the Dolphins are not pursuing a trade of Tyreek Hill, and no team has called them to attempt a trade for Tyreek Hill. Now, the part that's most notable, I don't believe the GM talk. You know, this guy's causing problems. He wants a trade. He's making a scene every single day, it seems. But the thing that really makes me wonder is more the interest of other teams. And when a 31-year-old player that potentially has lost a little bit of his game because he didn't do anything last year. You can blame it on the wrist injury all you want, but that doesn't explain a lot of what we saw. And while I'm tempted to say he looks quick and he just broke the running the diamond world record around the baseball diamond. He just broke that record of running around the baseball diamond timed. So he's still fast, but what's going on with his football abilities? Why couldn't he get open? Why was he not throwing the ball at all? What's going on? Think of Cooper Kupp in a sense too. I feel like Kupp and Tyreek Hill, they're curious cases because when you watch the film, you don't see Tyreek Hill not getting open. It's not like his fault, but he's not playing good football. Regardless, he's just not playing good football. And Cooper Kupp, there are times where he's running down the field, throwing his arm up in the air, and he's wide open, running down the field, was untouched, 30 yards, nobody around him for like 30 yards. His Stafford didn't look at him. There's something going on where these quarterbacks aren't necessarily trusting him. The offensive coordinators aren't trusting him. The team isn't trusting him. There's stuff that's underlying. And at 31 years old, even if he was misused last year, grossly misused last year, and it wasn't his fault, A, he's staying in the same situation as of right now. B, it doesn't matter. This still could be his drop-off year. Even if we'll never know. If he doesn't play well because he drops off this year, he'll always be thought of as a guy that actually dropped off the year prior. It just ironically was a bad situation. Tua went down. Nobody knew how to run this offense, and they're bringing in Bobby Slowick to be the QB coordinator, and that's really good for Tua. But at the same time, even if he changes teams, and changing teams is not an easy task for a wide receiver, I would give him a pass and say that he could learn an offense pretty quickly, or maybe he gets traded to the Chiefs, something like that. He'll be okay mentally, I think, changing teams, being able to pick up a system. But where is he at? Is this the year he drop off no matter what happened last year? Maybe. Because 31 years of age is a tough year for a wide receiver, especially a quick twitching, hamstring using wide receiver like Tyreek Hill. Because everything's about the hamstrings. And these quick twitch guys like Tyreek, the speed demons, they tend to fall off the map a year or two early. So, hard to say. I think the likelihood, if I'm going to give a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of likelihood of a trade going down, let's put, let me see if I can put a scale up here. I would say a likelihood of Tyreek Hill getting traded on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being he's gone. 1 being very, very low likelihood. 0 being no. I still think this guy's creating such a problem in the locker room, and he's not done yet. Although trading him before the draft is really the play, because teams are going to want to get that, now draft capital like the Dolphins. So I don't know that they'd be really interested later, but the problems could emerge later. Like Tyreek could really create a problem later. I'd say a 4 out of 10 likelihood of getting traded at some point in the next month. 4 out of 10. Not super high, but not 0. I just think, the fact that the GM's saying we've got no offers, that's really the problem. But if a team, let's say, knows he's for sale, and this owner says, forget it, we get a third rounder, then all of a sudden he's gone. So I could even say 5. Let's move it to a 5. 50-50 chance he gets traded. So 5 out of 10 that Tyreek Hill is on the move at some point. This right here, so this is Tyreek Hill. Now we're going to move the topic of discussion over to Mark Andrews. Let me move this circle, right around Mark there. Good job, Mark. Marky boy, what's the likelihood of Mark Andrews getting traded? Probably less than Tyreek Hill. The reason this has even come up is today, specifically, the GM of the Ravens said, I never know what's going to happen when asked if he expects Mark Andrews to be with the team in 2025. This was an interesting way to approach this question. And he is getting older, and the team scraped by, got him, I believe it was 11 touchdowns. Let's see what his yardage was last year. Kruger, how many receiving yards did Mark Andrews have in the 2024 NFL season?
Andrews had 71 receptions in the 2024 NFL season.
How many yards did Mark Andrews have?
Mark Andrews had 810 receiving yards in the 2024 season.
Are you sure that's not 2023? You're talking 2024.
Yes, in 2024 he had 810 yards.
Okay.
His numbers was.
Okay, how many touchdowns? I didn't mean to interrupt you. How many touchdowns, Kruger, did he have? 11.
No worries. Mark Andrews had 11 touchdowns in 2020.
So, I keep interrupting him. So he does seem to be using the right stats. Okay, so 811. I do think there's some tremendous amount of regression. How old is Mark Andrews, and what month was he born, Kruger?
Mark Andrews was born on September the 6th, 1995. So he's 29 years old.
Okay, so turns 30 in September. The problem is he's had a lot of injury concerns. He's had a lot of other things that have made you worry about drop off. He looked like he dropped off 2 years ago, and then he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And then the 800 yards was okay. That was fine. I mean, it wasn't. I honestly thought it was 7 something. So it's kind of I guess intriguing. Walking into the season, it was 11 touchdowns that really made him extremely valuable, but he's always an injury concern. And at the age he's at right now, there's a real chance that this team is saying it's Isaiah Likely time. And this is why I even wanted to do this entire show. Is I've been wanting to do a Tyreek Hill update. I've been wanting to talk about Kenneth Walker. I've been wanting to go over a little bit of the Pickens and Kirk Cousins situations right now walking into the NFL draft, but the main reason for the show is this guy right here. If for any reason, and you can look at this in advance, if any reason Mark Andrews gets traded, Isaiah Likely's cost of entry goes through the freaking roof, but so does his upside. And so there's opportunities to buy him cheaply, and in best ball, grab him and Andrews together, and you might end up with 2 completely different starting tight end options. But I really think Likely is a monster in waiting. He's just been getting diluted. His workload, his target share, it's erratic. When he's leaned upon, he plays like an electric wide receiver. As long as Andrews is on a roster, he'll be sporadic. And grabbing the 2 cuffed together is very good strategy in best ball. Understand that. But this right here, this weird Weird GM quote from DaCosta saying, I never know what's going to happen when asked about Mark Andrews being on the roster. That makes me think they're entertaining the idea of trying to get something now before it's too late. They might fear that they got the most out of him they're going to get. So we'll have to see what happens here in the next coming weeks. And teams, but the thing is, like with Tyreek Hill, what are the odds a team wants to really give up enough to make it intriguing? Like if Tyreek Hill, no team is even inquired yet, I highly doubt the Dolphins are like, yeah, that's worth it. To the first person that says, well, what about a fourth rounder? So it really comes down to the teams that are interested. And I don't know, maybe a team or two would be interested in Mark Andrews for the year to win now. Throw him in the lineup now. Bengal organizations like, let's do it. Let's bring him in. You never know. So that's Tyreek Hill and Mark Andrews. Kenneth Walker is a tough player to, put your finger on in terms of where this new regime sees him. I don't quite know how I feel about the way the run's going to go. Is it going to be more of a committee? Is it going to be through one monster? Kubiak is pretty solid at running the ball. I think this could be a very good situation for the Seattle running backs if you cuff these two together. And Charbonnet is so reasonable. You can grab Walker all day long and cuff him to Walker or cuff him to Charbonnet without much of a problem whatsoever. As I alluded to many shows ago, and I'll continue to reference, this is probably the most underrated handcuff backfield in the National Football League. And it's not just a gut instinct or a nostalgic type of comment. This is proven. This is science right here. This is algorithms and data. You overlay Zach Charbonnet's is right here. This is Zach Charbonnet's game log right here. When he started, he was running back 8, running back 7, running back 1, running back 17, running back 19. But look at the points: 38.3, 13.6, 10.7, 25.7, 17.9. If you take these 5 Charbonnet games, divide them by 5, and then remultiply it by 17 games and extrapolate the data, that's 360 points on the year. Very, very tough to do that with 5 games, but it's important to go through the exercise. He's running back number 2 or 1, depending on your scoring format. You take Kenneth Walker's starts and overlay them. Don't include like you're starting, the best running back each week. We're literally taking Sharp's games that he played, and we're taking only Kenneth Walker's games that he played. There's 17 starts using just one player at a time. This is running back number 5 through 17 weeks. Through 17 games, running back number 5. Kenneth Walker, number 1 in missed forced tackles per attempt in the NFL last year. Number 1. Missed forced tackles per attempt. He was the number 1 running back in the league. He was the number 5 running back in yards after contact per attempt. And Charbonnet was running back 1 or 2 in overall scoring if you extrapolate his 5 games across 17. That's remarkable. That's remarkable. And so, I'm kind of sitting here like most of you. And I'm sitting here like most of you, and I'm saying this is the rookie mock draft. If you missed that video, go watch that, by the way. Go check that out. I'm sitting here like most of you, and I'm saying to myself, I want him to get traded. I want Zach Charbonnet starting for the Seattle Seahawks, and I want Walker starting for the Washington Commanders, the Denver Broncos. That's what I want. I want 2 starters out of this duo. And that's what we originally wanted from the beginning. Smitty shows up, and I likely what the F is wrong with the rest of you goofs. You talking about the thumb up button? Hit that thumb up button, I think is what Daniel's saying. Daniel, appreciate you. So, I don't know. Did I say the likelihood? Did I already give the vote? So, number 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10 likelihood of Hill getting traded. I would say for Andrews, I don't think I gave my Andrews score. I would say a 4 out of 10 likelihood of Andrews getting traded. in 2025, before, during, or right after the NFL draft. So a 4 for Andrews. Walker, I would say a 4 as well. Likelihood of Walker getting traded 4 out of 10. I think it's something that just comes down to the price tag. It comes down to what is a team willing to offer. Just because he doesn't get traded doesn't mean they aren't going to get close talking with a team and never reveal it. We don't always get all the fine details. But, I mean, I think that a team's going to inquire. We already know the Raiders have picked up the phone. Why? Because you have his former coach, Pete Carroll, in Las Vegas, who brought Geno Smith in, and now he wants to bring Walker in. This is a reuniter. He likes to reunite the boys. And so they've already talked. We already know Seattle got a phone call from the Las Vegas Raiders and Pete Carroll. Hey, is Kenneth Walker available? Okay. We don't know the details. We don't know the details. We don't know if that conversation is going to be like, let's revisit during the draft if the right guy's on the board. And the Seattle Seahawks are like, we like what we're doing here. We want to get a pick here. We might be a call-in for that draft pick. Yeah, what are you potentially looking to do? Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll keep that in mind on draft day. Seattle out. Seattle hangs up the phone and Pete Carroll goes, I want Kenneth Walker. However, this could also have been a conversation where Pete Carroll said, hey, we're going to draft Ashton Genty at number 6 overall. If he, for any reason, gets sniped from us, or the wrong player or the right player falls to 6 and we can't take Genty, we'll be calling you. Are you going to answer? Yes. So we have no idea where the trade negotiation went when they communicated. But I think it's enough to say 4 out of 10. Kirk Cousins, I'm going to give this score it's a 0 pretty much out of 10 that he gets traded on draft day or before Kirk Cousins, but that's because he has a no trade clause and he wants nothing to do with the committee. So he's waiting, he said, until after the draft is complete. Once the draft is complete, I think there's a 9 out of 10 chance that Kirk Cousins gets traded after the NFL draft when he can go say, okay, this team doesn't even have a backup quarterback. I'm completely safe going and getting traded there. He doesn't want a committee anymore. And he wants full control with his no trade clause. 9 out of 10 that he goes to a team and starts. The Pittsburgh Steelers botched their quarterback drafting. If they draft Milroe, then he's going to probably say no. Maybe he doesn't view Milroe as a threat. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he still goes. But there's a chance that a team like the Cleveland Browns, he's not. Kirk Cousins gets promised a starting job, but are they really going to start him? I don't know. What if the Giants? He won't go to the Giants. What if the Saints literally do nothing in the NFL draft, and Kirko wants to go over to New Orleans and throw balls to Olave? That's not bad. It's an okay situation. Thing is Kirko even going to be able to get back to the form he once, or resemble a little bit of the form he once had? I don't think so. He looks really, really bad. I know he wasn't fully healthy, but he looks really, really bad. I'm not too intrigued by Kirko. I don't think he's going to ever play great football again, but some team's going to bank on him. Kirk Cousins is a top 5 overall paid quarterback in NFL history. He just robs everybody blind. George Pickens, likelihood of George Pickens getting traded, I would probably say is at this moment a 5 out of 10, maybe a 4 out of 10, mainly because we haven't heard anything. And that's the part that makes me kind of like say, I'm a little confused. I admit. My prediction was and still kind of is that Pickens is not going to tolerate not getting his extension just flat out, that in itself. Like he's either being slow rolled right here and they're talking to him going, shh, don't create a stink, get him past the NFL draft and he has no leverage. We're looking into it. Just stay calm. Don't create a panic or then we're going to view you as a problem. And then Pickens is like, okay. But I just don't, there's no logic in this world that makes sense to me that this guy watches DK get traded for, take his number 1 job, and he's the number 1, make no mistake about it. And then they pay him number 1 money. They pay him the bag that was waiting for George Pickens. And if you think that Pickens is the one, why did they pay DK? Just answer that question. Number 2, what quarterback's going in there? Either a kind of like getting worse and less accurate Aaron Rodgers, who's going to say, DK, just catch this ball, please. Or they bring in a guy like Milroe that's working on accuracy, and he's going to target DK all day long. I like Pickens. not ripping on Pickens, but I don't know how Pickens I don't know how Pickens doesn't put up a stink. It doesn't make sense. He's a diva number one, and all of these things happening around him. And the one thing his agent has to be telling him and his friends, and he's got to have the smarts for this, maybe he doesn't, is that all he's got to do is get traded and he gets a new deal immediately. There is almost a -% chance, definitely less than 0% chance he gets traded and doesn't get a new contract. Any team that trades draft capital for a player wants to lock the player down. Otherwise, they're renting the player and giving up the draft capital. That's why you always see a trade and a contract announcement happen in parallel at the same time. So-and-so's been traded. Here's his extension. Oh, okay, he's getting extended always. Very rarely does a player not get the extension in some sort of good faith. They got to get the deal done before another team swoops him up or something like that. In this case, it won't happen. Pickens, all he has to do to get paid, is initiate a trade and cause some drama, and this team will send him packing. Odds of him getting traded, though, are 4 out of 10 because we just aren't hearing anything. So that kind of puts like Kenneth Walker as maybe the highest likelihood. I don't think we gave anybody a higher than a 5, though, right? Tyreek Hill, 4 or 5 likelihood of getting traded out of 10. Walker, a 5, I think I said. Andrews, a 4 or 5 out of 10. Kirk Cousins, a 0. And then after, because he has a no trade clause, but after the NFL draft, he's a 9 or a 10 out of 10 to get traded. The only reason he wouldn't get traded is if somebody wouldn't give the Falcons enough. They just thought they could, pull one over on him. Like, hey, we're going to play hardball with you because you have no other buyers. The Falcons will say, we're not doing it. We're going to use him as our backup and have one of the more comfortable backups in the league. And the Falcons won't be pushed around. So there's a chance. That's why it's a 9 out of 10. And then George Pickens, a 4 out of 10. So none of these guys have, except for Kirko later after the draft, none of these guys, minus Kirko, have anything but a 4 or 5 chance out of 10 of getting traded. But I don't know. I feel like one of them will. And it'll probably be Andrews or Walker. I don't know. Tyreek, Andrews, or Walker. Pickens right now, I'm baffled. I'm baffled. And I'll be the first to admit I was wrong in predicting he would demand a trade. But it won't surprise me that this guy that feels off his rocker and George Pickens doesn't want to make a stink here, wants to make a stink here. I don't know. It wouldn't shock me. I probably would. I'm still baffled by it, but at the end of the day, I'm going to be like, it's George Pickens. He's a very unpredictable person. So that's that. Dial in if you would like to discuss these 5 individuals. Dial in. Call
into the show. Call into the show.
The real question I think everybody wants to know is if they do get traded, where do we want them to go, and where would we not want them to go? So Navage says Bijan Algier or BTJ at 2.3. Is that a rookie pick, Navage? You got to be specific because I'm pretty sure that's not like a vet pick or anything, but 2.3 rookie pick. I'd probably say give me give me Bijan. You're drafting Bijan ahead of BTJ in a startup, plain and simple. So I think, it's debatable for sure, but are you ever drafting BTJ over Bijan? Probably not. But doesn't mean you shouldn't be considering it. Like, people should be considering it. Like, they're both that good. They're both fantastic. Jeff with a $2 hauler. Andrews did not have 811 yards. He had 467. I didn't think so. Kruger making me look like an idiot. Kruger. Let's see. Why is Kruger so bad at stats? He's so good at everything else. Mark Andrews. Yeah, he didn't have 800 yards. He had 673, so even you're wrong, bro. His 2024 regular season stats. That's so funny. Not only was Kruger wrong, but your super chat number was wrong as well. He had 673 and 11. Nobody's right. Nobody's got any good information right now on Mark Andrews. Apparently, it's all fictitious. We got Jeff saying he had 467. That's not true. Here's Mark Andrews' real number. If it will drag on screen, that is 673. I joined you guys. Blue, did you join the Patreon? So 673 and 11 TDs. I knew it wasn't 800, but it's still better than I had pictured, honestly. So I was thinking it was going to be 4 like Jeff said, but Jeff's wrong on that one. Jeff, appreciate your super chat though. 673 and 11. So his touchdowns really saved him. I'm not asking Kruger stat questions anymore. Let's confront him on that because that's wrong. Hey Kruger, can you tell me Mark Andrews' receiving yard numbers again in 2024?
In 2024, Jamar Chase led the league.
No, not Jamar Chase. Mark Andrews.
Got it. Mark Andrews had a solid season in 2024. He totaled 950 receiving yards.
No, he didn't.
All right, I must have mixed that up. Let me double check his stats for 2024.
We're waiting, Kruger.
Mark Andrews had 673 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns in 2024.
That's correct. So why did you say 800 earlier and 900? And I don't want to hear, I'm sorry, my mistake. I want to know why you had the wrong number. What was the reasoning? Where did you pull it from?
I misspoke, and the source I referenced initially might have been incorrect. Thanks for catching that.
Yeah, you might not want to look at that source anymore because I asked you specifically, are you sure? We're talking 2024, and you said 811 or whatever the hell it was. And Kruger, I need you to be accurate with these numbers, my man.
Understood. Accuracy is key. I'll ensure I use verified sources only. Thanks for pointing that out, Smitty.
Okay. Let's test Kruger. Kruger, how many rushing yards did Kenneth Walker have in 2024?
Kenneth Walker had 573 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns in 2024, with a 3.7 yards per carry average over 11 games.
Okay. You said how many yards?
173 rushing yards.
Okay. You are correct on that. You're using good data. Use this data. Wherever you're pulling this from now, use that. Don't use whatever you were using earlier. You were using Ziggy stats, weren't you? You were asking Ziggy this information because that was bad.
Smitty, I'll stick to reliable sources from now on. Ziggy stats won't make the cut. Thanks for keeping me on track.
Yeah. Jeff says, yeah, I realized I was looking at likely, but also only had 4 TDs. Andrews was 11. Yeah, so we're both wrong on that, but Kruger was the one that I blamed. But yeah, he got Walker's right. He'll use those stats moving forward. Okay. So phone lines are open, dial in. Let's have Kruger ask a question while we wait.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Hey, Kruger, ask me some questions. Pretend you're a phone caller because we're restarting the phone line and we don't have a caller yet. We're talking Tyreek Hill, Kenneth Walker, Mark Andrews, Kirk Cousins, and George Pickens. As I've identified those 5 as the most likely, not that there aren't others, but 5 of the most likely players to maybe get traded on draft day, before draft day, or slightly after draft day. So pretend you're a phone caller and do a little ring sound, and then I'm going to answer, and you ask me a question. Let's pretend we have a phone line that's working. Go ahead.
Ring. Hey, Smitty. Big fan here. I'm curious about Tyreek Hill's potential trade. What do you think the odds are, and where might he land?
That's a great question. What's your name?
It's Joe from Phoenix. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, no problem, Joe. So what I think is probably going to happen, 50% chance he gets traded by creating a problem. If he doesn't create a problem, I don't think he gets moved. So it's really on Tyreek Hill to go Antonio Brown on us. If he does, I think the teams most likely to inquire about his services will be teams that need him for a championship run, Those teams could include, I think, the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Buffalo Bills. Those are two teams that are just one player away, watching the Philadelphia Eagles win through mere force, brute force, stud acquisitions and having just a plethora of options. I think Casey could kick the tires again, slightly. I don't know that I see anybody else in the AFC going after him. Maybe the Chargers, but I doubt it. I don't think he goes anywhere in the NFC other than to maybe Green Bay could look at it. Washington could consider it, but it doesn't feel like Adam Peters' style. I think, we're probably looking at just those options. So that's the problem. There's only a couple options.
So the inside, Smitty, if Tyreek doesn't force a move, who else among those 5 players do you think has the highest likelihood of being traded?
Thank you, Joe, for your phone call. I'll answer, listen off air, okay?
Got it. Thanks. Looking forward to hearing your take.
Now that the phone line's working, Travis is on hold. We don't need Kruger to pretend he's a phone caller. As I said, I think Walker Kirk Cousins is going to get traded, 9 out of 10 chance. But I think leaving Kirk out, I would say Walker. It's a 5 out of 10 chance, 50% chance. And I hope it's not. The problem is the landing spot that's most likely is Pete Carroll in LV, but we want Genty there. So if they draft Genty, then that's off the table. Then it comes down to Dallas, comes down to maybe Houston would be interested. That'd be crazy. Can you imagine him in Joe Mixon's role? But Mixon's still there, so it's like I don't know that it's what we think. It's what we think we want long term, but these running backs have a short shelf life, So Dallas comes to mind. I think, looking at the NFC, I don't really see anything else that's super intriguing other than I would love Washington. So Washington and Dallas. I think looking over at the AFC side of the fence, I mean, it really just comes down to Denver and, the Raiders are off the table. Denver and that's pretty much it, unless like James Cook was moved on from, like they trade him because he becomes a problem, but probably not likely. Cleveland would be interesting for Kenneth Walker, especially if they draft Travis Hunter, and then they got an RB. So I'd say Cleveland, Denver, the Raiders, hopefully not. Yeah, that's probably where I'd go. Travis, you're live. Where would you want Kenneth Walker to go? Let's say let's talk AFC first. So no Washington or no Dallas Cowboy talk yet. We'll go to the NFC next. But the AFC, you got Denver, you got KC, we'll hope the Raiders are off the board, but you can mention the Raiders if you want. The Raiders, the Steelers, the Browns, and the Bills maybe.
Yeah, looking at the teams, necessarily love anyone going there, but Pittsburgh is somewhat intriguing because there's an opening. I think they'll draft someone like we've talked about. Besides that, though, it's odd looking at it. There's not a whole lot of places.
Your phone's coming out. You in the basement?
In the AFC, I don't.
You in the basement, Travis?
No.
Oh man.
No, I might just have bad service.
So weird.
It's been brutal on the whole Cape has been brutal service.
Crazy.
My sister.
It's right. You don't
talking about it. And
yeah, you don't have to worry about it. You can still call and everything. It's just okay. So who? I'm sorry. Name the teams that you. What's the team you? Okay, you have to pick up one landing spot and then one runner-up for not your preferred spot, but the likely spot you could envision him whether you want it or not. So give me the top 2 spots, not based on your preference, but just on AFC spots. So Denver, Raiders, Chargers, Steelers, Browns, Bills, Ravens, Bengals, etc.
I guess it would be, if I had to pick a spot that he would end up, not my preferred spot, Raiders, and then Raiders or the Browns, I guess, with the Steelers close third.
All right,
they didn't draft somebody.
And then NFC,
like I said, I think they're drafting someone.
NFC, you have Dallas, maybe New York, maybe New Orleans, Washington, and that's it. Or stay in Seattle. Not what you want, but what you think could happen.
I think, I would say Dallas, if they don't, make a trade or draft someone. I could see them maybe making a trade for him.
Dallas, man. Dallas
or
would be amazing.
Dallas, or maybe stay in Seattle.
Yeah, if I had to,
I think would be the two I'd say.
If I had to put my favorites, so you gave likely spots. I'll go with who I want, not where I think he could go. Honestly, LV's the best shot because of Pete Carroll, because they've already called. We have two components there that make that a likely trade. One, there's already been communication about it, and two, Pete Carroll wants his boy. So that's the easy call. But where I want Walker to go, so Walker, best spot. Number one is going to be, I'm going to say Dallas. Number two, Washington.
Yep.
Number three.
Yep. That would be two for me.
Number three would be, I guess, LV. If we're going on production, like where I would want him to go. Let me see. No, Cleveland. I want to put Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland.
Yeah, okay, yep.
LV. This is the most likely. These are the ones I want most. Personally, right here. These are the most likely. Or this is the most likely. These are the three that I want most. Dallas, Washington, Cleveland. Walker would go crazy. Oh, Denver. Yeah, Denver, good one.
The only hesitation I was gonna say the hesitation I have with Denver is if Peyton isn't like enamored with a guy, but if he traded for him, I guess he would have to be pretty enamored with him, like a lot.
But here's why I am ranking him 4. I'm ranking Denver below because if it's not like tremendous draft capital that he's investing, I'm with you. Like if he gets banged up because Walker's got an injury history, I wonder if he just lingers in a committee or something, and I'd hate for that. So Cleveland, I think no matter what.
That's what yeah.
But Denver, if they drafted a Genty or somebody that I'm not even worried about getting hurt, then I think Denver becomes like one spot in some cases. So I'm with you on this being like a kind of spotty Walker spot. It's weird because you almost want Walker anywhere, but LV's the most likely. These are the ones that I want the most. As far as Pickens goes, let's do this for Pickens. So the most likely spot I'll put at the top here. The most likely spot for George Pickens, if I had to guess, would be, he doesn't qualify for the Chiefs because he's got to get in the way more offense off the field trouble. If he can do that, if he can get into some trouble pretty quick, Chiefs are on the board. I think probably. I think the Ravens are still a team I think is going to try and make a big move. I mean, they may try and make a big move to get that player that allows them to level up and go in and battle it out against not only the Chiefs and the Bills, but really the Eagles, and say the Eagles are brute force, dominating everybody with these big players. I think it's an interesting place. I think Denver's going to be interested in a big name wide receiver to help mature Bo Nix. I think Buffalo would consider it, but they're weird and cheap about wide receivers, at least going and paying the price. Not saying they're cheap with everything else, but the Raiders need a receiver. It wouldn't be crazy. The Chargers could have some interest. I don't know where his likely spot though.
I think if he becomes available, I think the Patriots go after him right away.
Yeah, That could be
because they probably aren't going to get Hunter.
I agree.
They still desperately want a receiver, and
I agree.
And they're not very big on tech, I don't think.
I agree. That's probably the most because you guys have already been super aggressive everywhere. You just keep missing. But in that case, you could force him to come instead of like trying to inquire. Hey, come to the Patriots. No, okay.
And I think they would.
Now you could force it. So Patriots, I think that's a good one. I think it's a pretty good spot. It's in one of my top 3 or 4 desired landing spots because he can get number 1 targets. But is there a place I would rather him go? I guess Buffalo, but we've seen things.
For fantasy, probably.
Yeah,
Buffalo.
we see things fail though. You know, we see those things fail.
Yeah.
I'd probably say Buffalo. Green Bay, I wonder how he'd do there. I wonder how he'd do in Green Bay. Would he fall apart? And then New England, I guess. I don't know. I might be off on missing a team here. No.
What are your feelings on Carolina with receivers? Do you think they just lean in and hope Leggett is the guy? Or do you think they make a move for someone?
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Leggett. I don't. He had the surgery as well. I don't know. Real quickly going back, I don't know about Leggett, but I'd say this. I'd say if Pickens, let me add an S there. If Pickens, if he was to get traded, I agree with Travis. The most likely spot is the New England Patriots, but they rank 3rd on my most desired spots. My most desired spots: Buffalo, Green Bay, New England, because he's a number 1 in all 3 of these environments. I don't know that there's another spot where he's the one. Even in Baltimore, he's not the one. In Tennessee, in Houston, he's not the one. Denver, he's not really the one. He'd be sharing it with Sutton, and Sutton's got something to say about that. KC, he wouldn't be the one, and I don't think they'd go after him. Again, he's got to get more trouble. No, the Colts maybe could be interested in a receiver, but I don't like that. Cleveland, I don't think they're ready for that now. They're not looking there. Jacksonville,
especially if they get Hunter.
Jacksonville's been pretty. They've been pretty vocal about wanting to get a player, and then that would allow.
They wouldn't have to draft one.
That would allow them to use this 5 on who do we have going there earlier? Wasn't it
Mason Graham or one of the cornerbacks?
So that's not a great fantasy landing spot though, but it's something to think about potentially going down. So anyway, there's Pickens. From the other names in likely spots that we want to see him, Mark Andrews. This one will be interesting. Mark Andrews, most likely landing spot.
I think he's very interesting.
Most likely landing spot. I'd have to say, let me look at it real quickly before I throw it out. Most likely landing spot. Do I have another phone caller on the line? Guys, dial into the here's the phone line. What am I doing here? Here's the number.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
If I had to say, let me go look at the teams real quickly. If I had to say Mark Andrews, the teams that would inquire about Mark Andrews. Let me merge this call, Travis. Hold on. Let's see. We got a caller on the line here. Let's see. 901. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Smitty. It's Michael from San Diego.
Michael from San Diego. What's up, my boy?
How you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm good. Never saying twice. Hey,
I don't know
Chargers.
If we're talking about Pickens or are we doing?
Well, real quickly, Chargers could be interested in Andrews.
Maybe they have,
and that's brother.
Conklin and
hey, Harbaugh.
Disley.
Yeah, it's Harbaugh. Hey, Harbaugh, you want to send me another one of your players? Who do you want? Another couple running backs? No, we'll take your tight end. He's on the way down. Okay, sure. Send him on over. I mean, it actually makes sense. It makes sense that Andrews could go to the Chargers. I don't know. Okay, go ahead, Chris. What were you trying to say about Pickens? Pickens.
Oh,
Hey, two-time, you there? Yeah, Chris, two-time.
It's Michael.
Oh, Michael,
But,
sorry, two-time Michael. What can I do for you? You were talking about Pickens?
Yeah, no, I was going to say I like the landing spot for New England. I think Green Bay, I wish you spent more time on. I think Green Bay is very interesting because they are looking for another wide receiver, and I think he'd go there. Maybe not be I mean, I guess he would be the one. I still look at Jaden Reed as a pretty talented player, but I think they would play different parts of the field. They could feed off
Green Bay
pretty well. In Green Bay.
Yeah, Green Bay is definitely in the mix. I mean, he's definitely one of the places I targeted.
No Watson.
Yeah, I like it. I do wonder if he's gonna be able to flourish, wherever he goes. He's kind of a head case, but he's got a lot of talent.
Get enough targets.
A lot of talent. With Jordan Love.
I mean, he put up 1,100 yards with the three Stooges at quarterback. I think he'd be okay with Jordan Love.
Yeah, but it's more about does he collapse and fall apart and all that. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I give him a couple of years before that happens. So, yeah, send him over to Green Bay. Hopefully Jordan Love doesn't frustrate the hell out of him. My only concern for Pickens owners would be that Jordan Love, there's a little bit of concern right now on Jordan Love. And the reason I say that is because how are you handed Jaden Reed? Now, I'm like you. I think he's a really good player, and you don't make him into a star. So part of me wonders if Love has a style of play that is just rotational, kind of the way Josh Allen's playing. But Josh Allen has proven he can laser lock on one guy. But Jordan Love, I'm already a little bit worried about him. And the fact that he even said, we don't have a one. We just spread it around, before the season started. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Jaden Reed's a bona fide low-end wide receiver one in the NFL. Not fantasy. I'm talking, he could definitely be a bona fide low-end fantasy wide receiver. But he's a bona fide
Would you think that's more on Love,
low-end wide receiver. He's a bona fide wide receiver one talent, like 12, 11, 13, 14. And you have them come out saying they want to run him a lot less this year, which is not something I wanted to hear. But what would you just say, bro?
No, I was saying, do you think that's a Jordan Love issue, or do you think that's more of a LaFleur issue?
Well, I mean,
feel like Jaden Reed wasn't getting utilized correctly down the stretch.
I mean, I think it's both, but you're the quarterback, bro. You're checking down. You're not just throwing where LaFleur wants you to throw. You have options all the time that are on the table. Like, it's not like you're, just saying, oh, I have to throw it to this guy. There's some design stuff, but Love could get it to Jaden Reed anytime he wants. He could audible, he could check down, he could do whatever the hell he wants, but he didn't. He didn't use Jaden Reed near as much as he should have, and Jaden Reed is really, really good. So I'm a little worried about Jordan Love right now. I'll be honest. I'm feeling a little bit of Stroud vibes. I'm not feeling great about Stroud right now. I'm not feeling good about Love. I'm not saying one or both can't bounce back and make me feel better. I'm not calling him a bust, but I'm certainly not betting money on him. I'm not. And if Pickens were to go there, part of me wonders if we'd see what happened to Amari Cooper in Buffalo, just kind of get washed in and mixed in with everything else. And everyone that thinks Amari Cooper fell off the face of the earth, I don't know that he did. He might ironically drop off this year, similar to what I was saying about Tyreek. Tyreek wasn't maybe washed last year, but he might fall off this year, and we'll never know the difference. So I think Amari Cooper, if he does happen to drop off the face of the earth this year, I don't think he would have last year. So I don't know if Buffalo, would be a problem. I don't know if Green Bay is going to be the problem. But I do know that George Pickens doesn't have a quarterback right now, and he's going to have a complex and a problem with the situation, and he's the guaranteed not number one wide receiver in Pittsburgh without a quarterback that's going to run the ball. I think he's better off taking a chance on Jordan Love, but I think he's much better off going to New England to work with a nice, young, exciting quarterback that will learn to laser lock onto this guy over and over and over. I don't know that Jordan Love knows how to laser lock. That's my point. I don't know if Jordan Love can laser lock.
One more.
All right.
I think I have one more spot. This one's off the wall, but this is my thinking as a Titans fan. Maybe we go pick him up in Tennessee for Cam Ward, because I don't really like Calvin Ridley by himself for Cam Ward at wide receiver. And I don't think anyone's talking about our landing spot for just a wide receiver in general for a rookie quarterback.
Pickens to Tennessee.
It's always possible. Tennessee is always a possibility. They've shown they're willing to go get guys.
My initial reaction was to vomit. My initial reaction was to vomit, but then I do think about it and I say, Cam Ward is different than what we picture when we close our eyes and try and dream of Tennessee, Titans right now. It's like it's a different environment. If Cam's there, as much as I wanted to vomit at first, if Cam's there, and he will be, he's the guy. He's getting picked. He even was playing Madden, I think, live streaming. Or no, what was he doing?
Yeah, he's a Titan.
Yeah. He was playing a game live streaming, and some kid or somebody asked, not kid, it was probably another player. I forget. I didn't watch the entire clip, or I didn't even actually watch it. I read the captions of it, and I was skimming by it. And he was playing games online, and somebody asked him who the best running backs in the league were. Probably a buddy, another teammate, whatever. Yeah, and he said Tony Pollard and Spears are the two best running backs in the league. You're like, okay, I see what you're doing here. They're not. Let me just correct you. They're not the best running backs in the league, but I get your loyalty. So Tennessee, Pickens from Cam, I don't mind this. Digesting it for a minute, it's not bad.
And think about Brian Callahan as a former guy for the Bengals. I think Pickens could be. Pickens could be a.
It's pretty good. Kind of I don't mind this. I could mix this into my top spots. I could say maybe it's not 2 or 3, but maybe it's in the 4 or 5. I think New England really is a good spot for Pickens, a really good one.
That's the best spot.
I think Buffalo is a good spot for us, but it might just end up being the same damn thing that happened to Amari Cooper. I don't really know. I think not. I think Cooper's on his way down. Pickens is in his prime, so I would like to think that Josh Allen would be like, this is going to be a force-feeding type of situation, but I don't know.
I don't think it's Josh Allen, though, in Buffalo. I think it's the coordinator, Brady. I feel like Brady likes to spread the ball around.
Bro, you have a quarterback making his own decisions. He doesn't throw where Brady wants him to throw. He's checking down. He's going through progressions. There's a plethora of opportunities. What it came down to is Amari Cooper didn't know the playbook. He came in, and they just didn't force it to him. So you could say that, some of that was coaching, but Josh Allen could anytime he wants throw it to whoever he wants, but he spreads the ball around. So I'm going to go ahead and say this.
No, I
confirm on Pickens. I'm going to say Pickens. I like your idea of Tennessee. I think Buffalo's damn good. With some risk, I think that end of the day, New England probably beats out Tennessee, but Tennessee's probably in the top 5. All right, real quickly, any final question, bro?
No, that's it, man. Good discussion.
All right, man. Call back if you got another one. And Andrews.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
Yeah, Andrews to. We were saying the Chargers.
I think there's several that could work for Andrews.
Yeah, LAC, but I think LAC with the connection, bro, is really, really likely.
The connection would be they have 2 tight ends already, though. Not better than Andrews, but
yeah, it's not. I don't think they're. Well, some might argue, but I don't think they're as good. Denver
Jets.
Yeah, the Jets could be a possibility.
I'd like the Bengals too. Maybe they might, but they don't seem focused on tight end. But
if Gup were here, he is here. Hold on. Speak of the devil, if Gup were here, he'd say Andrews to the Lions. Mark Andrews goes to the Lions because we're trying to win a championship, Smitty. Gup, did you get a hold of Calvin Johnson yet?
Now listen to me.
Oh, he sounds rocked.
Like the pool.
He sounds a little toasty.
Does Ridley plays for the Titans, don't he?
Yeah, we think. Last time we saw him play.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. How old is Ridley anyway?
I don't know. Stop asking me all these questions. Just say what you're gonna say.
I'm not 30 years old around that.
I'm not your personal Google assistant.
Oh, okay.
So what are you thinking, Go?
I kind of like Ridley every year. The sneak, kind of like a Debo
Yeah. Liking Ridley every year hasn't been working out. So you might want to change that.
Well, no. What I'm saying is Cam Ward's going to the Titans, right?
Mm-hmm. He sure is, Gump.
Oh, man. You know I'm grabbing Ridley this year. You know it.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
man. He's high on my list.
Gump's waking up. Gump's getting.
Oh, yeah.
He was about to fall.
Oh, no, none of that computer. I'm sitting there listening to you. I'm driving. I'm in Michigan. I just went.
You almost fell asleep on the road. It scares the hell out of me. You almost passed out. Yeah, until you started getting hot and bothered about thinking about Ridley. You sounded like you were going to pass out and drive that tractor trailer full of cereal that you're hauling across the country off the road.
No, 100 times.
Not alive.
No.
Gump, stay awake.
No, wait a minute.
Put a little Ridley sports card right in your visor.
Pink lemonade's got me going. Yeah.
Listen, don't drink too much. You're gonna have to do that truck stop.
Yeah, listen, Ridley gonna be good this year.
Okay, you said that, but I disagree. Okay, real quickly.
There's only one thing I gotta do now. It did calculate in my brain about the Titans grabbing that quarterback and Ridley. I didn't put it together. There's only one more thing I gotta do. You know what that is?
I have no clue.
Before I grab Ridley, you know what I'm gonna do, right?
No.
I'm gonna look at did he post anything about him working out or do anything like, Chubb.
How would I have known that was what you're gonna say?
Well,
you know what I'm gonna say, right?
Listen,
you know what I'm gonna do next, right?
Yeah,
you gotta know. I'm
well,
gonna get on the newswire.
Well, listen, I'm
obsessed about Ridley.
I had a big Ridley smile on my face just a little bit ago.
I think this is where I'm at.
It dawned on me that the Titans were taking that number one quarterback. And
guys, if you put 3 X's in a row, I hang up on them. It's on you. I got somebody saying, move on to the next caller.
Yeah,
3 red X's and Gump's gone. If they're ever consecutive. Okay.
Man, I'm telling you. Oh, man, I like Ridley. Boy, if you're doing that best ball and you got to do receivers, do not pass up on Ridley. You're going to regret it. You'll regret it. Oh, yes, you will.
Got 1 X.
Uh-huh.
Come on, Cap. Caps are. Yeah, no, I don't. I don't agree with you on this one. Gump, I'm sorry. There's a new rule implemented. Do not take this personally. Wear it like a badge of honor. But the chat voted they love you to pieces. But if you ever get 3 X's in the chat in a row, red X's,
I'll hang up way before that.
No.
I'm almost in the war room for the fantasy draft.
No, you're not gonna know it's coming, Gump. You're not gonna know it's coming. The moment I got 3 red X's, the button gets clicked and you don't get to call back in for the entire show.
I can't wait. Make sure you're on time for the draft. Bye.
He beat you all to it. Okay, Ridley. Gump's weird about.
I'm gonna write down Gump's team.
What player? Yeah, he's running out of guys he's gonna grab. He's getting Winston. He's got, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, Andrews. Let's see here. Andrews to. I don't think he goes somewhere like New England because he's got little time. So he needs to go somewhere where there's a potential.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Run. Washington's got Ertz. They're not interested in that. I think the Rams would be intriguing, but they have 3 tight ends, but that would be intriguing. Can you imagine if the Rams got another pass? Like, what would happen to Stafford's value if the Rams did get Andrews?
I mean, Higbee's always hurt.
That would be.
So they could do that.
That'd be crazy.
I like that. Would the Eagles do it?
Maybe because they're
invested in Goddard.
No, there's a lot of Goddard to be traded. What's Goddard's? Yeah, no, there's a lot of Goddard concern, injury concern. I mean, Andrews, it'd be just like the Eagles to do that too. So that's not a bad one. I think the Chargers make the most sense though because it's just gonna be, hey Bob.
Yeah.
Hey Bob, it's Bob. Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
You sent me J.K. Dobbins, and you sent me Gus the Bus Edwards. Those didn't work. Those were lemons. You sent me a bunch of lemons. I want you to send me somebody else. Okay, I got just the guy for you. He's on his last leg. His name's Mark Andrews. I'll send him on over, Bob. Thanks, Bob. I mean, is it? I mean, think about it. Like, Shanahan trades to Adam Peters. We knew it was going to happen. Debo or Ayuk, one of them were going to the Washington Commanders, and it's because of the line that they have open, the really good communications that they have with these teams.
Yep.
So the Chargers and the Ravens, trades between those two teams seem very, very likely whenever there's an opportunity that presents itself. Walker for Andrews, that would be intriguing. But you know, the only problem is, like, what are you gonna do with Walker while Henry's there? You know.
Yeah.
But I love Walker long term, but he's also not a spring chicken. So it's like you can't really think long term with Walker, because by the time Henry's done, Walker might be dropping off. You know, it would be intriguing, but it doesn't, you know, look, a lot of thunder and lightning approaches, you know, make sense, but
do you think they want to possibly move on from Andrews just because they want to get Likely in there and do something a little different? Or, I mean, Lamar loves Andrews.
Yeah, but, you know, Stafford seemed to love Cooper Kupp, and then he didn't. Then he didn't throw to him. I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't. I mean,
I'd love it just to see Likely.
I mean, it doesn't make sense, and it does. I mean, it's like any trade, you know.
Right. That's kind of where I'm coming from. Yeah. Eagles and Rams are very interesting.
Yeah, and then the last one, and I don't know how much longer. Let me get this caller on here. Hold on one second. 304 caller, you're live. What's your name? 304, and where are you calling from?
Jeff.
Who?
Jeff from West Virginia.
Jeff, what's up, Jeff? What can I do
from
for
West
you?
Virginia.
What can I do for you?
Yeah, we were talking about Walker, but something that hit me, and I was just wondering what your thoughts were. If the Bengals could find a way to trade up with Jacksonville to get Genty, and say forget the defense, I mean, wouldn't they be able to hang 50 on enough people that they wouldn't have to worry about a defense?
Really hard to hear you. I don't know if you're on speaker or if your phone is really muffled. So your question was,
is that better?
I don't know, maybe. Bengals trade up to get Genty, which would be at 5. You're correct. What was the question about that?
They're talking about Bengals desperately needing a defense, and I understand that, and Mike Green would be the best one for him there. But if they got Genty and had a fantastic running game with Chase and Higgins and Burrow for the passing game, they really wouldn't need a defense. They just hang 50 on everybody.
Yeah, but the thing about that, bro, is how you gonna get that 17 to number 5 without giving up the future or additional capital that you need. You do need to spend it on the defense. Like, I'm not saying they have to have the best defense, but they have to improve it a little bit, and they're planning to do that through the draft. But you also got to think about the fact that, like, this team's already very good with Chase Brown, and so if they can get an electric defense, as electric of a defense as one can get with the draft capital and such. I mean, are they really? And I love Genty, believe me, but are they really putting themselves in a much better position when they're an air attack team? And you've got Chase Brown, who in the final 8 games, if I remember correctly, and I'll do a calculation on this for the Chase Brown board, I want to say he was like number 2 or 1 or 3 on the year through the final 8 games, like his fantasy football. Some of his category stats were.
Yeah.
I just, you know, I'm not.
If they would have kept Mixon with Brown, they would have made the playoffs the last 2 years.
But
for some reason,
but why do you say that? Because Chase Brown was electric. He was a top 5 running back once he was starting. So I don't know. I don't know why you'd say that. He did everything that
even when they had Mixon in there, because Brown was a fantastic running back. but Mixon was a fantastic receiving back.
So
and they had them both.
But so is Brown. Like, what I'm trying to tell you is Brown didn't leave the lineup, and he was a top 5 running back. So, like, what on earth could you do better with having Mixon? Nothing. You would have maybe had a lesser team.
No.
Chase Brown was going crazy.
I'm not talking about taking Brown away for Mixon.
I know.
I thought they should have kept Mixon with Brown.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm trying to tell you is that Chase Brown didn't leave the field, essentially, and he was a top 5 running back once he was in there. So I'm asking you, how does putting Mixon in help when it's probably a downgrade from what Chase Brown was doing? That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's like mixing in Mixon, no pun intended, would have maybe had a lesser, statistical output than having Chase Brown just stay in the lineup. Like, I don't understand. Like, I
knew that Brown was the best overall runner the Bengals had, even with Mixon, bar none. Was no question. The only problem that I had, and he has gotten better at it over the last couple of years, but one of the problems we had with him when he was a rookie was he was not a good pass catching.
He changed that. Now you're going to a previous year. I'm not trying to argue with you constantly on this, but now you're going to a previous year and trying to explain why you needed to have. I don't understand where you're going with this, because he's every bit the player that you wanted him to become. He became it, and now you're suggesting if we just had another back like Mixon in there, things could have been different. I don't know that they could have been better. Let me put up his game log, because there's really no argument on this one, in my opinion. I'm not saying that like maybe this year having another back can't keep him healthy, but bro, he was.
The Bengals always put up 2 backs.
Well, they clearly didn't.
Always going to be the number one. Brown's going to be the number 1 back for sure. But for some reason, Bengals always put 2 backs. I've never understood why they always put 2 backs either. To be bluntly honest, but them and the Steelers both do it. They both freaking put 2 backs in the backfield, even though you know that Najee Harris was going to get it for the Steelers every time, and you knew that Brown was going to get it every time for the Bengals. But for some reason, they still put 2 backs in the backfield. Never made sense.
But what's the point, though, is what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to tell you is that this guy didn't leave the field. So putting Mixon in the mix, no pun intended again, doesn't make this backfield better. Chase Brown had from 11-3, from November 3rd, halfway through the season, is when he started to get his 20-plus touches a game, essentially. 27 carries, 120 yards, 5 receptions for 37 yards and a receiving touchdown, my boy. We're talking about 150-plus total yards, a touchdown, and 5 receptions. He was a monster. Dare I say running back 2 or 3 probably that week. The next week, 42 yards and a touchdown. Okay, he only had 42 yards rushing, but guess what he had receiving? 9 receptions for 52 yards, 11 targets. He's getting massive targets. The next week, 86 yards, 5 receptions, 57 yards. The next week, 70 yards and a touchdown. 3 receptions, 30 yards. The next week, 58 yards rushing, but 6 receptions for 65 and a touch. The next week, 97 and a touchdown. 3 for 16 and a receiving touchdown. So 2 touchdowns that game. The next week, 91 yards rushing. The next week, 67 rushing, but he's getting 27 carries, 13 carries, 22 carries, 12 carries, 14 carries, 25 carries, 18 carries, 20 carries. I'm just trying to tell you that Mixon doesn't do anything for this. You're only potentially getting Chase Brown out of his groove, and he's not getting, in that groove to continue to get better and better as the game goes on and get in a rhythm. I don't.
I'll be truthful. I didn't realize that. I knew that the defense did get better for Cincinnati the last probably their last 8 games. Yeah, about their last 8 games. They got better. Cincinnati has a horrible beginning of the season every year. It's just the way they start. But I didn't realize that Brown had gotten that much better towards the end of the year last year.
Brown was, and I have to look at it. I'll calculate it up, but in the last 8 games or whatever that stretch was when he got the 20 carries, I believe he was a top 5 running back, but I think there was some crazy stats intermixed in that in regards to receiving, yards rushing. Like I'll pull it up. I'll try and put it up for the next show or whatever. But Chase Brown was unbelievable. The only reason we're like a little bit pumping the brakes on fantasy-wise drafting Chase Brown is because the Bengals have talked about drafting an RB. But I don't think they draft one here. The only question is, does a Scattaboo, a Caleb Johnson, R.J. Harvey, a Tootin, do they fall, Brashard Smith, do they fall so far that the Bengals, with a practically, free pick for them in the fifth round, say, grab the running back, and then there's a little bit of a problem because this running back class is so deep. So Chase Brown has to escape the NFL draft without a running back getting taken. But I think they have zero interest in trading up to the top 4 to draft an RB. I don't think that's in the cards. I don't. So to answer your first question that you asked,
I don't either, because it would cost them a first round pick next year for sure.
Yeah, they're not.
And I don't think that Cincinnati's in the position to be able to do that.
No.
And but if they do get another RB, people swore up and down that it would hurt T. Higgins's production whenever Jamar Chase came on, and technically it did. But it also made him a better, stronger player. And he didn't become a wide receiver 2. He basically became one receiver 1B.
Yeah.
Because, a wide receiver 2 doesn't get a 5-year, $115 million contract.
Yeah.
And, and those two have always played off of each other and played really well together. And if they could get them a running backs that could do the same thing with Brown, that may be a positive.
Yeah, Brown's.
I'll be honest with you. The only reason why I want the Bengals every year in the playoffs is because they seem to be the only ones in the AFC that can beat the damn Chiefs. And so it's like they're a lot of fun to watch. They are. They're just fun to watch because of their offense, and it seems like they're about the only one. Well, in the playoffs, they are the only ones in the AFC that's ever beaten the Chiefs. And
all right, my man. I gotta get going here, but call back anytime. What were you saying?
I was just telling you that I really appreciate your insight because it made me look at it in ways that I
no problem. I wasn't trying to go at you or tear down your opinion. I was just trying to let you know that like adding Mixon would not have changed anything for the better. But let's keep an eye on who the Bengals draft. I don't think they're taking an early running back. Unless like Hampton fell or something, and who knows what they do, but they got to go defense.
I'm hoping they take Mike Green from Marshall. Who I'm hoping they get. Because if they can get another freaking stud pass rusher on the other side, trade to Hendrickson, that's going to increase their defense more than anything else ever could.
Yeah.
So,
all right, my boy. Call back anytime.
Anyway.
All right, appreciate you.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Later. All right, Travis, any final thoughts? I'm probably going to wrap it up here.
Yeah, so I just did the math real quick on his last 8 games. He would have been RB3, only 3 points behind Barkley for RB2 if you extrapolated
8
it
games.
out.
Yeah, I knew it was top 5.
So,
yeah,
for the full season.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
He was RB. Hold on, let me put Gump on. Gump. Yes, Gump. You got 10 seconds, Gump. 10 seconds, Gump.
10 seconds?
9 seconds, Gump.
All I'm going to say, 9. What I'm saying is,
7
I
seconds.
believe the Lions are going to have a radical draft.
Define radical.
They're going to surprise, shock. They're going to shock rock everybody.
No. Define.
Shock.
Like give us an example. You got 4 seconds.
Shock rock. You know what shock rock is?
He's very bad about instructions. You can't even. You're like, give us the example. What are they doing? Nothing. Chase Brown in week 9, running back 4. Week 10, 3, then 9, then 10, then 5, then 5, then 23, then 13. Very, very solid. Very, very solid.
He was on a over 300 carry pace too, so he held. Yeah. He hurt his ankle.
Chase Brown,
for the most part, he held up.
Yeah, I know the joke everyone has. The Bengals have to draft defense. Like, we know they got to get a defense, but they could draft a running back somewhere amongst all their picks. They don't. Everyone that wants to pretend like you can't coach up some of this and the offense getting even better in 2025, just stepping it up isn't going to put better field position in play. Like, all that stuff's going to help. Drafting just 2 or 3 guys, the right 2 or 3 rookies, is enough to make a defense really good. They don't have to be elite. They just have to be middle of the league, 14, 13, 15. And keep in mind that their Super Bowl run year, their defense was thought to be very bad. And then they started to play well, and they were really good in the playoffs, and they were really good against the Chiefs. And if I remember correctly, they weren't really good at the beginning of that Chief game, but they ended up, doing. Okay, this is it. Gump, you get 8 seconds. Gump, you have 8 seconds. Hurry up. 8, 7,
Okay.
6.
What I was going to tell you is that Lions are going to pick like 3 edge rushers, 3 of them, and they're going to get Shamar Stewart. The Lions.
I'm not quite sure how they.
Mike Green, yeah, they're going to get some. I think that big fat guy for a big line. Man.
I don't know, Gump, you just said they're taking Tyler Warren. You said they're taking Tyler Warren. You said they're taking a running back in the first 2 rounds. Now they're taking 3 edge rushers on top of that.
Shamar Stewart.
Now you said, and you also say they're taking a wide receiver in the top 3 rounds. You're running out of spots, Gumpy.
Shadur goes to the Saints. Shamar Stewart goes to the freaking Lions.
Oh.
That was a little. Okay, anyway. Travis, anything else?
No, I'm glad
Gump took a dump on the phone line. All right, we'll see you later, Travis. See you tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Smitty. Bye.
All right, later. Thank you to my mod squad. Appreciate all of you. Blackbeard, Sick Nasty, DeBolt, Space Ricky, Travis, Vampy, my boy Vampy out there, Terry Roberts, Kenny Powers. I think did I get everybody? DeBolt, Space Ricky, Blackbeard. I didn't say Blackbeard, Kenny Power. I think I got them all. Blackbeard to the moon. Blackbeard's always kind of there in the shadows doing mod things, but like you call him out, you're like, where's Blackbeard? He's like, boom, I'm right here in your face. So appreciate my boy Blackbeard. I'm out of here. Don't forget to get on over to Underdog. We'll start getting into drafting like every, graveyard shift. It's just right now there's a lot going on with the NFL draft, and sometimes I don't feel like just getting in a draft. But Code Smitty, the link is in the description of every video. The link is being dropped in the live chat right now. Code Smitty also gets it done, but the link will insert Code Smitty for you. That link, that Code Smitty, will get you up to $1,000 in bonus credit and a nice free pick deposited in entered in your account. So go do it live. Appreciate every single one of you. We'll be back tomorrow. So do it live. Appreciate you. But the continuum of the gigawatt component structure of Jahmyr Gibbs' workload divide has a megawatt offload that if you compartmentalize the component conjunction timekeeper and you flux capacitor out the continuum component megabolt, things just end up happening. And that's why Jahmyr Gibbs is a top 5 to 10 running back instead of top 6 to 10.
There are handfuls of Saturn, Mars, and Moon men, but only 8 can be supernovas. I give you the 8 best picks in fantasy football.
They are the 8 supernovas.
They are the 8 supernovas. The hateful 8 supernovas. I'm looking at the 8 supernovas. The magnificent 8.
Liftoff of mission 41D, the first flight of the orbiter Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk.
Warning, what you're about to see might be a little bit scary. You might want to turn away if you're squeamish, but this footage has been sent to us from a local Phoenix resident. Local authorities are trying to figure out what the sign means. It reads Sharb Season. Unclear as to what that is trying to reference or if that's some sort of warning. And it's still undetermined where these flying objects are deriving from.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk.